something, Mr. Chiller. Sounds like an engine. Where? What direction? I can't make it out. Seems like it's all around us. Can't you hear it? Right what you mean? Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Welcome to a new episode of the Superpowered Fancast. This is Darren. Just a quick kind of rundown of where I've been. Just been in my head a little bit too much lately. Just trying to think of new ways and new things I can do to try and innovate the show. And what I've been doing is, unfortunately, I haven't just been doing the show. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get back to doing the weekly show, just kind of talking about the things that I enjoy, talking about the things in geek culture, and talking about what I have, things that I am looking forward to, and hopefully getting some more interviews in with people that I admire and people I want to talk to. Got some feelers out to some people to some creators that I really enjoy, and I'm hoping to hear back from them soon. And as soon as I do, then you'll hear back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break this episode down a little bit and just kind of go with it. I'm just going to go and just talk about the things that have been happening lately in the geek culture and in the geek news, and just here we go. So in movie news, I'm going to say probably the biggest story that's out there right now is, of course, Black Panther. I mean, Black Panther just had its world premiere this week. It still doesn't come out until the 16th, but it had its world premiere, and everyone was there. All the stars were there, and it was, from all accounts, everything I saw was amazing. So it's shaping up to be probably one of the biggest Marvel films ever. Definitely probably one of the biggest films of the year. And that's not discounting Infinity War coming out in May, but Black Panther looks like it's going to be a great kind of lead-in for that. Now, there's been a lot of positive buzz about the film, a lot of positive feedback from critics and people who have seen it from the premiere, and it looks like it's tracking to be. So the film looks like it's tracking for a $150 million opening weekend, and that's a conservative estimate considering everything I've heard and seen and read about whole theaters being rented out so that kids and people can see the film. I'm thinking that that number, especially over a holiday weekend, might be a little low, but you never know. But of course, with anything positive in geek culture, of course, the negative comes with it, and the negative aspect of the Black Panther premieres, of course, some disgruntled fans who, I mean, I'm not going to paint all DC Films fans at the same brush because I'm a DC Films fan. So, but I'm going to say just some disgruntled fans who apparently don't like anything Disney, don't like Marvel films, don't like Star Wars, and apparently are under the impression that Disney is tanking DC Films, decided they were going to go ahead and create their own Facebook group to ruin Black Panther's Rotten Tomatoes score, to try and I guess tank the film, and frankly any film that Disney does. How they think that's going to succeed, I don't know, but of course it happens, and it's actually been taken care of to an extent, to the point where Facebook actually stepped in and removed the group. So it's, an example of Facebook actually taking action for once. I'm not going to get into it. But it's interesting that this is what they finally decide they're going to take action on. But they did, so we'll just kind of leave it at that. The next part of movie news is this week was the first trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp, starring Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, and Evangeline Lilly. Now, if you go to superpoweredfancast.com, you can see the trailer for yourself. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I love the first Ant-Man because it was a comedy, and it was also a heist film, so it didn't take itself too seriously. It looks like this new film, like the new trailer, it's kind of staying with that same theme, or it's not necessarily taking itself too seriously, but there are some serious tones to it, especially having to deal with, I guess, Scott's decision to help Captain America and what it does as far as exposing Hank Pym and Hope and having them be on the run. So I'm interested to see what those repercussions look like in the film when it comes out, because it looks incredibly interesting. So definitely waiting for that move. Now, Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be like the third Marvel film, a Marvel Studios film, to come out this year. So I mean, you got Black Panther on February 16th. You've got Avengers Infinity War on May 4th, and you've got Ant-Man and the Wasp coming out July 6th. So it's three Marvel Studios films leading into the heart of the summer. So I'm interested. And the last bit of the last bit of movie news I'll do is if you go to superpowerfancast.com, you can see the first photos of Brie Larson in costume as Captain Marvel. Now, Brie Larson is playing Carol Danvers, and Jude Law is playing Mar-Vell, who is the Kree scientist, the original Captain Marvel, and Brie Larson's Carol Danvers gets the powers of Captain Marvel. Now, there's been controversy, which, of course, it's the internet. There's always controversy. There's controversy about the costume and the fact that the color scheme is different than it is in the comic books. But considering the film takes place in the 90s, I'm absolutely willing to believe that this is the Kree uniform, the original Kree uniform, which in the comic books, Captain Marvel's original uniform was green. So I'm going to say this is the original Kree uniform, and that it's going to evolve. And especially since the concept art that I've seen does have the color scheme that we're used to from the modern iteration of Captain Marvel. So I'm willing to just kind of let it be what it is, and I look forward to absolutely seeing the film when it comes out. So, I mean, controversy be damned, it's a Marvel Studios film. I tend to give it a little bit. I tend to put some faith into it just because I think they're going to make a great product. So just a short aside before we get back into the news. I have started an account with AdvertiseCast. It's a podcast advertising network, and which means that if you have a product or a project that you want to advertise on the podcast, you can go to advertisecast.com, and under listings you can look for Superpowered Fancast, and I offer a huge range of perks and advertising spots at an incredibly reasonable rate. So if you go to advertisecast.com and look at Superpowered Fancast, if you have a product or service that you want advertised on the podcast, I will absolutely advertise it both on the Superpowered Fancast podcast itself, but also on superpoweredfancast.com. I can even write up copy, and if you provide art, I can go ahead and aggregate your goods or services, your product or project. I can aggregate it to my social media pages as well to spread the message. So go to advertisecast.com and look for Superpowered Fancast and advertise with me. So getting back into the news, for as far as the TV news goes, and what's interesting is that I've kind of a lot of the movie news this week was about Marvel Studios films, and a lot of the TV news is kind of about DC Comics. So just kind of keeping on the theme, but Keenan Lonsdale, who plays Wally West, aka Kid Flash, on The Flash, has joined the cast of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. So recently, Legends lost Victor Garber, and I don't remember the other actor's name. I'm sorry for that, but they basically lost the Firestorm character, and they kind of needed a new superpowered character for that team. And let's face it, there really hasn't been much of a need for Wally on the Flash, and which is a strange thing, because with the whole storyline right now with Barry being in prison, spoilers, with Barry being in prison, you would think that this would be the perfect opportunity for Wally West to kind of step up and take over the mantle of the speedster in Central City, but they really haven't used his character that much. So I think probably the best thing for both the character and the actor is for this move to Legends of Tomorrow. I think it's going to work out great for both of them, and I kind of look forward to it. I actually want to see Wally step out of the shadow of Barry and become not only his own character, but become part of a team where he's needed for his skill set. So I'm looking forward to that. The next bit of TV news is, I'm a little on the fence about this one, because here's the thing. So the executive producers behind Gotham, which I'm sorry to say I don't really watch. I watched the first season, and then I tried to get in the second, and then it was so kind of plotting and slow moving for me. I just couldn't really get back into it. But I'm trying. Like, I'll trickle in and watch maybe a couple of episodes, and then then I'll drop off and watch other things. But I'm slowly doing my best to catch up. But on that note, the producers behind Gotham are producing a new series for Warner Brothers DC Comics streaming service, and that project I've got really mixed feelings about. Okay, one, you've got Sci-Fi Channel doing the Krypton series. So you've got a series about Krypton that is about Superman, but does not feature Superman at all. Now you've got the producers of Gotham creating a series called Metropolis, which is about the city where Superman lives, and it features as its leads Lois Lane and Lex Luthor. And you want to know who it doesn't feature? Clark Kent, aka Superman. So you got a Metropolis series, you got a Krypton series where there's no Superman. You got a Metropolis series where there's no Superman. I mean, what is the point? See, my problem with this entire premise is that you basically, from what it sounds like, is that they're taking Lois and Lex and partnering them together to solve supernatural and science-based mysteries, like on Fringe. And this is like they're taking Fringe and the X-Files and mashing them together and putting Lois Lane and Lex Luthor as the leads. Who thought this was a good idea? I know who thought it was, but it just, if you can explain to me, if you can tell me how this is appealing, if you can tell me how this series in any way, shape, or form would should entice me to watch. In fact, if you could give me the elevator pitch for this series that would make me want to watch it, please feel free. You can absolutely email me, superpoweredfancast@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Twitter @superpoweredfan. But, let me know. You can even go to the Metropolis story on my website, superpoweredfancast.com, and leave a comment. Just kind of let me know. Give me the elevator pitch. Tell me why you think this series is a good idea. And I will absolutely check it out. But I don't hold out hope. I mean, again, you've got not one, but 2 series coming out that are about a specific character in the DC universe, but neither one has that character as a member of its cast. It makes no sense to me. At the very least, Gotham has Bruce Wayne training to be Batman, or at the very least taking the first steps towards being Batman. You've got Krypton and Metropolis that are both about, one is about Superman's family and one is about Superman's home, but again, neither one of them actually will feature Superman. And even taking that out of the equation, you've got thousands of characters. You got a deep roster of heroes and villains and anti-heroes to draw from. Why make a series about Metropolis that doesn't feature a hero? If this is a DC Comics streaming service, why am I not seeing DC Comics heroes as part of the series? I'm absolutely on board for the Titans series, because it's they're taking those characters and they're bringing them to life. But you have those characters to draw from. Why not use them? I mean, I hate to kind of beat a dead horse on it, but why would they not do a Booster Gold series, or a Blue Beetle, or The Question, or one of the thousands of characters that they have that could actually be viable as a series? Anyway, there's no release date for Metropolis, but I'm not looking forward to it. If you are, please tell me why. I'm always willing to listen. Anyway, the last bit of news is, this actually isn't going to be DC related, but the final episodes of Star Wars Rebels are coming to Disney XD, and I'm not necessarily looking forward to the end because I really love the series. Now, what I am looking forward to when the series comes back on Monday, February 19th, besides that being my birthday, and when the series comes back, the last few episodes are actually going to feature Ian McDiarmid reprising his role of Emperor Palpatine. So that should be, that's a really great, not only send-off for the series, but a really good, just kind of final nod to the fans that the situations and characters in Rebels are part of Star Wars canon. Like, they are part of the larger story. So that I'm looking forward to. It looks like the final trailer, the trailer for the upcoming last few episodes just looks amazing. Looks very emotional, in fact. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So, coming back February 19th on Disney XD. So definitely check it out. Finally, we're going to get into some comic book news. And the first story that I'm really looking forward to talking about is, if you haven't heard the names Ben Acker and Ben Blacker, There's some amazing writers, and they write both live action and they write animation and they write comic books, and there's amazing writers. Like, you should check out their Boom Studios comic limited comic book series, Death Be Damned. It's a great story. I absolutely loved it. I got to review each issue, and if you go to Geeks Worldwide, you can look up my reviews and read what I thought about the series. I thought it was amazing. I still do. I would love to kind of see a sequel, even though it was a limited series. I'd like to kind of know more about the characters, if not the same kind of situation, but with new characters, just because it was so well written. But Ben Acker and Ben Blacker, who also coincidentally wrote the Star Wars DJ Most Wanted issue for Marvel Comics. So they wrote the backstory, the kind of lead up story that introduces Benicio del Toro's character from Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So they wrote that story for Marvel, and it's actually on sale this week. It came out Wednesday, so you should definitely check it out. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 9.2 out of 10 because it was a really well written story. It was a really interesting character, and I like the fact that we got a chance to kind of flesh him out a little bit more. But Acker and Blacker also wrote a live show that used to play at Largo at the Coronet in California, and I always regret that I never got a chance to see it live. But the show was called Thrilling Adventure Hour, and it was a serialized show with actors, and it was like old time radio. But it had some amazing actors on it called the Work Juice players. So you had people like Mark Gagliardi, you had Paul F. Tompkins, Bijou Phillips, Paget Brewster. You had people like Bradley Whitford on the show, Josh Molina. You had so many John Hamm, so many amazing actors, and Neil Patrick Harris, so many amazing actors who were on the show, and it was such a great series that I actually still have the episodes of the podcast that I downloaded, because my favorite show, well, yeah, because they had different shows. So you would have like characters like Sparks Nevada, who was a cowboy on Mars. You had Amelia Earhart, which was really funny. But my favorite series was Beyond Belief, and this was Paul F. Tompkins and Paget Brewster playing Frank and Sadie Doyle. And I love those characters so much because it's like the Thin Man meets like Supernatural, like things like that, because they're unrepentant alcoholics who see dead people, and they're always find a clever way to either get rid of them or help them, but it's incredibly fun, incredibly funny show, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. But in comic book news, Boom Studios has taken over publishing the Thrilling Adventure Hour comics. They were previously with Image, now they're with Boom Studios, and they're going to be releasing I guess you could call it a collected edition. It's called the Thrilling Adventure Hour Volume 1 Discover Now Edition, and it features Frank and Sadie on the cover. And what's going to be cool about it, besides the fact that they're releasing all the original comics, is that there's going to be new stories coming out, featuring Beyond Belief, featuring Sparks Nevada, and those characters. So I'm absolutely looking forward to that. Thrilling Adventure Hour, Volume 1, Discover Now edition. It's going to be available for sale in July 2018. Digital copies can be purchased from like Comixology, iBooks, Google Play, and the Boom Studios app. But I'm really looking forward to it. I love, like I said, I love those characters. I love Frank and Sadie Doyle. I would love to interview Paul F. Tompkins for the podcast, just to kind of talk to him about like podcasting and comedy and Thrilling Adventure Hour. And I would absolutely love, I would love for there to be new episodes of Beyond Belief, and especially new episodes of Thrilling Adventure Hour. And the next bit of comic book news is Justice League No Justice. And I'm really looking forward to that, because if you've heard any of the conversations I've had with the interviews I've had with Scott Snyder, his latest, well, not latest, but his next project is going to be a weekly Justice League comic called No Justice. And it's a really interesting premise, because what it does is that you have Brainiac basically splitting the heroes up and teaming them with villains, because there's a new threat that's even worse, that's worse than anything that they've ever faced. So they actually have to go to different planets to protect them and save the multiverse. Now, the next time I talk to Scott Snyder, I'm hoping I can get some more details. But it's a really interesting premise, and not only is it an interesting premise, but you got some interesting teams. Like you got like Batman's team consists of, well, Batman, of course, Lex Luthor, Deathstroke, Lobo, and Beast Boy for some reason. So that's an interesting lineup. I mean, they're not necessarily, it's not a completely unheard of lineup, but they get a little bit eclectic after that. So you got Flash has his own team, and his team is going to consist of the Atom, Harley Quinn, Cyborg, and Robin, the Damian Wayne Robin. So again, an interesting premise. Now, the one that's really strange, and I think mostly because it is kind of popular, it is all aliens, but you got Superman's team, which is going to be Man of Steel himself, Martian Manhunter, Starfire from the Teen Titans. But the other two additions you have Sinestro and Starro. Now, why it's Sinestro and not Hal Jordan, I don't know. Why it's not a Green Lantern, but it's Sinestro. It's going to be hopefully it's something that they'll explain. Well, they're going to have to, but it is an odd choice. And the last team is going to be Wonder Woman's team, and Wonder Woman's team is basically kind of all magic based. So besides Wonder Woman, you've got Zatanna, you've got Jason Blood, aka the Demon Etrigan, you've got Dr. Fate, and you've got Raven. So you've got like all the kind of the more magical characters in the DC universe, and Scott Snyder is going to be writing along with Joshua Williamson and James Tynion IV, and it launches May 9th and is going to run weekly, and I will definitely be reading every single issue and probably reviewing them as well. But so the last piece of comic book news, and what I'll kind of close out on, is Brian Michael Bendis, who for the last 17 years has been a staple of Marvel Comics. As you know, well, you may not know, but he has signed a contract with DC Comics. So he now works for DC. and he's taking over the Superman titles. So what he's doing is he's starting a limited series called Man of Steel, where he's gonna kind of shake up and reintroduce and kind of reimagine Superman's origin story on Earth. And that's going to be part of his series. And then after that, he's going to be writing both Action Comics and the Superman comics. So it's going to be he's basically kind of taking over that world of Superman. And then also he's going to be bringing in his works, including Powers, which I really enjoyed, and I would love to see how that series works at DC. Like I really want to see how he translates that series. But other than that, I think that's a great place to kind of end this episode, just so I can kind of get it out there and get something done. And I'm going to get back to doing this weekly so I can talk about all the things that are coming, because there's a lot. And I look forward to hearing from you. So definitely let me know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. Hit me up. Email superpoweredfancast@gmail.com. You can always find me on Twitter @superpoweredfan. And you can absolutely go to my website, superpoweredfancast.com. You can read my articles, you read my reviews, my comic book reviews. Leave feedback. Let me know things you like, things you don't. I absolutely respond. And like I said, if you're a business and you're looking to advertise your goods or services, you can go to advertisecast.com and look for Superpowered Fancast, and you can see the rates that I offer for advertising on the site, and on not only the site but the podcast and social media and everywhere. It's a growing show. It's a growing market. It's a growing website, and a lot of people are digging our content, and I'm enjoying doing it. And I want to thank everyone who's listening. Thank everyone who has been listening. And please write and review the show on iTunes. Give me feedback. I definitely want to know how I'm doing, and I absolutely want to know how I can do better. Until next week, this is Darren from Superpowered Fancast signing off and saying I'll see you next week. Bye.
This has been a production of the GWW Radio Network. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Also, check out Geeks Worldwide at thegww.com for all the latest news, reviews, and opinions on video games, comics, movies, TV, cosplay, and more. Geeks Assemble!